And welcome to the Waffle Mafia podcast. What's happening, Dougie Fresh? Say what? We got to say hey to everybody who's joining me in the chat room for the podcast. I appreciate you guys. Doug Preston, Dougie Fresh, my other brother from another mother over here at Lucky Legends. It is me, Aaron Johnson, the Wiz, the Wizard, Lucky Legend himself, joining you all for a special Waffle Mafia podcast. This is the last Waffle Mafia podcast before WaffleCon. So WaffleCon coming up this weekend, of course, at Lexington. So I'm going to have a special guest on with us, Mr. E-Daddy Eric Glenn. What's up to you, good sir? I see that you're ready. So we're going to actually have E-Daddy on to discuss some of the things that are going on as far as down in Lexington, down his way, since he's the founder, organizer, creator of the WaffleCon event. We're going to let Eric come on and talk to us about what's going on with WaffleCon coming up this weekend. What is up, Ruddy Buddy? What's going on? Paul Rudman in the house. What's happening there, Mr. Man O'Gara? Good to have you, sir. What's up, Travis Wilson? T. Willie in the room. What's going on, guys? So real quick, I'm going to try to add Eric in and see if we can add him. I don't know. It's not giving me the option to do that. Normally does. Let's see. Says I can invite him to watch. Does not give me the option to add him in. So if that does not work, I don't know. We might be in bad shape. So either way, I can run my mouth. But we really do need to get the information from E-Daddy on what he's got planned and that kind of thing. So let me see if I can possibly add him in. I don't know, it's a little bit different on the webpage, guys. I normally, we go live through the app. Actually doing it through a Mac this evening. So a little bit different rules on the Mac. It ain't letting me either or try to join. Yeah, make him have a comment or have him request to join. Yeah, it's it may be the setup where we actually have it going through the Mac that I'm not able to add you in, E-Daddy. I don't know. It's actually not giving me the options like it normally would along the bottom where it would ask us to invite somebody into the podcast. So maybe where it's going through the browser, I'm not quite sure. That may be it. But either way, Skype him on another computer. What we actually could probably do, let's see, if at all possible, let's do this. I might let E-Daddy talk to you through the phone. So let's see, is it possible? Let's go over to the WaffleCon page. And for those of you guys who are listening, who are jumping in, who don't know what WaffleCon is or don't know what the Waffle Mafia podcast is, this is your weekly Waffle Wrap-Up where we do a rundown of all things Masters of the Universe, anything that's going on in the community, and of course the things that are going on throughout the Waffle pages. And since WaffleCon is something that we created, obviously we're pretty excited for that to go down this weekend and have Eric on to talk about it. So let's see if I can get over to the WaffleCon page. I'm going to try to add him in through there. So maybe go live in the WaffleCon page. Can we do that? Let's start a new live. and see if we can add Eric in and he can jump in and hang with us, my friends. Can we talk about how much Super 7 sucks? Goodness, tell us how you really feel, Mr. Manogetta. There's a few folks out there that have those feelings. You know, it's hit or miss, man. One of the things that I try not to do is try not to comment on something if I don't feel like I've actually had a chance to look at it and fool with it. But with the stuff from Super 7, I have seen the PowerCon exclusives. We have waffled the PowerCon exclusives, and I can definitely say that there is a difference in the plastic there from the classics that we got from Mattel. So obviously with seeing the live openings and the unboxings that everybody's doing with their figures, it's pretty obvious that there's some stuff that's messed up. We've got the stuff that actually went to Pixel Dan. Pixel Dan was doing his review, and what we see is, you know, he was not saved from any of the paint mismatches or some of the things that happened there. A little bit of paint transfer on the figures. So yeah, it's really not giving us an option to go live. I'm sorry, E-Daddy, I don't know what the deal is there, but if you like, we can go on, or you can hop on as soon as I get done here and go live and discuss what you want to do. I apologize. I don't know why it's not letting me add you in. I'm just guessing it's probably where we're going through the browser right now. I actually can't even go live from the WaffleCon page, which is kind of odd. It won't allow me to do that either. So hopefully when we get this done, E-Daddy can jump in and sort of do a quick little rundown of what all he's planning on doing. So, of course, as I said before, WaffleCon this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's in conjunction with the Lexington Comic-Con. So it's not that we've created this massive event called WaffleCon. It's actually, we're just calling it WaffleCon. And it's a chance for the Mafia to get together and sport our Waffle Mafia stuff and sort of show the community what we do. So we're going to be out there in full force. Hopefully some of you guys are able to come and we're able to get together, share our love for what we do, share our love for toys, and all things Masters. So it would be good to hopefully get to hang out with some of you guys this weekend. Now, as far as my schedule with WaffleCon, I'm really hoping, I've got to look at how the timeline is going to work out for Friday evening. I'm really hoping to be able to come up for Friday and then come up for Saturday as well. Don't know that I'll get to stay all the way through Sunday. Of course, I do have a 1-year-old who's over here beating on the window and making faces at me while I'm doing this. So Graylin, you know, I may have to reel back my WaffleCon just a touch this year and then maybe go all out for next year. And I know hopefully if everything goes well this year and things go great and we're still trucking along doing what we're doing next year, we'll have a shot at this thing again. So for everybody who's not able to make it this time, there's still a chance for next year. So very cool for the folks who can make it. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys. Let's see, other than that, what looks like a fingerprint on Toodles Butters. Sorry, guys, trying to catch up on some of the comments. What's up, Mr. Black? What's up, Maynor? So his Super 7 figures got there today. Let's see. Hey, what's up, Sugar Mama P? What's happening, girl? So Cassandra Proc in the room. It's good to see you. Let's have a little pause for the calls in your honor. We'll get that on. Yeah, I think, honestly, Mr. Black, I mean, it's one of those things where we've talked about WaffleCon for quite some time. Honestly, I don't know when the first notion of it got brought up. It was during a waffle. We decided we're just going to create WaffleCon and just do our own thing. And there is a lot of things that I would have liked to pull off for this particular get-together. However, I do understand it's the first one. I understand it's a little bit difficult for everybody, you know, geographically. Obviously, we're in different locations, so it's a little bit tough to try to get everybody in a central location. And the last time I checked, Kentucky's not necessarily a central location for most folks. It actually is for me, which is kind of cool. But, you know, hopefully if we're able to get this thing going and do it again next year, then we'll be able to do a second WaffleCon and have it just blowing up. So We'll have Graylin join me now since E-Daddy can't join me. We'll have Graylin join me. So Graylin, you can come over here with Daddy. I know you're working hard. Come on. Okay, so Graylin's going to join the podcast. Say hi. Look up here. Say hi. Hey. Say hi. The people are talking to you. Look right here. Look. Graylin. Hey. Bub, look up here. See yourself? Oh, hi. So, Graylin joining me for the podcast. Now I have two wiener dogs also joining me for the podcast. Graylin's down and gone. There he goes. Back over there with Mommy, Bub. Or you can just play. That's fine. So, with that said, let's get into the weekly Waffle Wrap-Up. Let's talk about everything we talked about this past week. So, for Wednesday of last week, we ended up actually, I don't think we got it in until Thursday night. So, actually, we talked about Scare Glow on Wednesday. Then we jumped in for Thursday night, for Thirsty Thursday, to do Thursday Night Frights. So, a little kickback for Johnny Mystery and Cassandra. A little nod to you guys. We did a Thursday Night Frights and did a Scare Glow. So, Scare Glow won by Mr. Hashtag Rigged himself, Ryan Freebird. So, Freebird, caw, caw. Well, shout out to you, my good friend. We did a She Elimination Wheel where we did a She-Ra. Mr. Backman won that. Also gave away my Stiffy. So, if you guys missed it on Thursday night, having Stiffy out, and that ended up going to Backman as well. So, Backman is the proud recipient of my Stiffy. Eternian Palace Guards going out to Brosvik. We took a walk in the Red Light D with Mr. Poppy D. Poppy D was not able to close the deal. Temple of Darkness goes out to E-Daddy, did a little bit of mini. Evil End Pop, Geldor with the Titty Nipples package that went out to Taylor Harris. And E-War, Eternity War number 12 Snakes that went out to Terror. So, a little rundown of the past Thirsty Thursday. Of course, we get together again on Saturday and we do a Syrupy Saturday. So, Syrupy Saturday, we did the Put the Stank Up on It edition. Did a little bit of Stinkor. Talked about Stinkor. Old Jakey B taking home a Stinkor win. Ramman 2000X out to Magnus for Mags. Lizard Man out to Dano. Did a She-Ra origin comic. She Has the Power. Goes out to Boogie. Did Plundor out to Big Show Ito, who is working on another Canadian box. He is on Canadian box number 2. We've got a Battle Armor He-Man Pop went out to T. Willie and a He-Man Dorbs to Dick Tor. So that was our Waffle Wrap-Up for this previous week. We also did a monthly wheel. So for anybody who's new to the group or new to the podcast, what we do is anytime that you guys come and you hang out with me for the podcast, you're going to get spots on the wheel tomorrow night. Now, it will be a separate wheel. It's a podcast wheel. So that's the wheel for the pod spots. It's always a separate prize, but it is good to get a free shot at something. So, you don't come over here and get the Dragon Walker just for hanging out. So the beauty of it is get your name on the wheel for tomorrow night for hanging out with the podcast. And then, as always with the group, Facebook gives us a rundown of the insights and the activity within the group for the month. So because of that, we're able to see who the top 10 contributors are. So this past month, Cullen just absolutely blew it out of the water, followed up shortly by Bro Cephas and J.D. Gibbs. So you guys, there were 10 of you who were the top 10 most active folks in the group. And for those top 10 people, we always do a monthly participation wheel that's separate as well. For that, we also did the Eternian Guards. So this weekend, not only 1 but 2 sets of Eternian Guards gave those away. So it really was a wild classics week this past week. We want to do the same this week. And, of course, hopefully we're going to get together and I'm going to be able to talk to you guys while I'm at the Comic-Con. So while WaffleCon's going on, hopefully we're going to be able to do a wheel from there. It may be tough to do, but we're still going to try to put it together. Hopefully we've got a couple of other cool things going on, and I'm going to wait. I don't want to spoil that and let E-Daddy talk to you about that. But if we could just get together and do some lives and go live from the Comic-Con, that's what we're looking for. And for all of you guys to get to see the folks who got to go hang out with each other, so that's pretty cool too. Let's give a shout out to who else is in here. What's up, Mr. Naito? Mr. Naito, how's it going, sir? Naito. What's happening, Edward? We've got John Idis. What's happening, my good friend? Mr. Brosvik. Hashtag pod spots. We got to be careful about that. They're not Tide Pods. Pod spots. So we're giving out the pod spots. Samisha McKee. What's happening, Waffle Queen? Can I get a free beer? Yes, sir. This beer's for you. We'll have a pause for the calls and make it do what it do. So, with our wrap-up from the previous week, what we always like to do is to get into a character discussion. So, whichever character we talk about for Waffle Mafia Wednesday is the character that we get rid of on Thirsty Thursday. And for any of you folks, like I said, maybe listen at a later time. Maybe you're listening to the podcast through Podbean, or maybe you're on YouTube later on. That being the case, as long as you hadn't went much further than a day, you still got a chance at tomorrow for Thirsty Thursday. And it's a little get-together that we do where we rhyme a bit and have a beer or two. And with that said, put a beer in your head. Let's pause for the calls. Let's get it in. And then let's talk about some manny faces, my friends. Tomorrow will be a light night. Yes. Well, no, we're going to get syrupy as well. But I actually forgot to go get the figure that we're talking about tonight. You know, it's kind of important since this is the guy that you guys came to see. Got to have your Manny Faces with me. So there's Manny Faces. We'll get him on up here too. Let him hang out and make it do what it do. Point the gun at you, baby. There you go. It is good old Manny Faces, bro. So there he is, hanging out, doing what he does. Yeah, man. So, Manny Faces. Manny Faces. How do you feel about Manny Faces? Do you love him? Do you hate him? Is he one of your favorite figures? Is he one of your least favorite figures? Do you prefer vintage over classics? Do you prefer the 2000X? Many different iterations of Manny Faces, but the truth is, almost all of them holding very true to who Manny Faces is and the concept and design that he was originally given. Now, Manny Faces, as he was originally conceived back in '82. So we have Manny Faces, Mascara. Whoa, what is that? Mascara. So mascara, if you want to say it like that. I'm sorry, but I think the play on mascara was absolutely obvious. But we will get into that in just a minute. I just couldn't help it, boys. I had to grin it. So there you go. It is good old Manny Faces, yo. So the vintage Manny Faces, as we remember him, as he came out years ago with the spinning faces. Very cool toy. I tell you guys, I remember getting him, to be quite honest, this is one of the figures that I remember probably the best of actually receiving this figure. As I've told other times, and I think Joe and I have discussed it at other points too, my grandfather was very big on picking up figures for me and then just sort of having them set and, you know, hid throughout the house there as I came over to visit after school. So one of those figures was this glorious Manny Faces. So I do recall Manny Faces being in that card, being on that blister, setting up against the wall in that one spot where he liked to set them. Came through there, found that sucker, and just was absolutely amazed because I don't know if you guys remember, but at the time I also watched Scooby-Doo, and there was sort of the scuba. It was like in a deep diver outfit, like the diver spirit or ghost or whatever. But I always felt like Manny Faces sort of resembled him, and he had, you know, these tubes and these hoses and these things, and he sort of had the larger head, you know, kind of like that guy did, obviously, because he had on the deep diver outfit. But Manny Faces stuck out to me right away as just something that was very different. Hadn't ever really seen anything like that. So, you know, here's this guy that has all these tubes and these hoses, and of course, you know, robotic in a sense. You can see some of the robot accents. And then, of course, you know, we have the robotic face. We have the monster face. And, of course, the human face. So, Manny Face is very interesting when he was first released. As far as, to me and my young 4 or 5-year-old mind, I would imagine. Let's see. What's up? Good night, all. Joey Toe, appreciate you jumping in, my friend. So, Manny Faces, Mascara, Human Robot Monster, the Three-Faced Titan, the Master of Disguise, also known as Percado. So for anybody you don't know, now you know, this is the homie Percado. So Percado, also a name for which is assigned to good old Manny Faces. So there's Manny doing what he do. He was released in wave number 2. So 1982, Manny Faces released. He would be a figure that we would actually see a brand new figure. So at the time, we did not have any of these sculpts. We didn't have these leg sculpts. We didn't have these arm sculpts. Obviously, the body quite a bit different because we got to be able to house this interesting drum that turns for the head. So had to make the sculpt for the head a bit larger in order to encase part of his action feature. So because of that, that required a new sculpt. So Manny Faces had to get a brand new sculpt. Now, he would go on to be copied. So parts reuse did occur. It just did not occur on him. When these things were created, these were all new pieces for him. However, with most Masters of the Universe, we do see some parts reuse. So a figure that came out also in that same year, Trapjaw. And if you look closely, we've got the same legs. So the Manny Faces legs, here we've got the boot halfway up to the knee. You've got sort of the shin pad here. You got sort of the spiky little details and things on the boot. Now, even though it looks completely different being over here on this guy, you've got the exact same stuff that we see here on Trapjaw. So it is the exact same leg, just a clever repaint. So the black boots with the green knee pad. And, of course, exact same part usage for Manny Faces. Interestingly enough, what's happening there, Perks? What's happening, buddy? Interestingly enough, we also see a parts reuse on the arm. However, there is a little bit of sculpt difference between Manny Faces and Trapjaw. So, although most of the arm is the same, and of course we would have to go to this arm to show it exactly. Although most of that arm is the same, it is, again, a clever repaint, and then a bit of a small sculpting detail that was somewhat different here on the top of Trapjaw, making him, I don't know if that's supposed to be a round sort of robotic part or whatever that may be. Now, the lines on Manny Faces, they are a bit more like a chevron or a military type symbol there. So, those, I don't know what the style idea was with the design, but either way, a little bit different for Manny Faces than it is for Trapjaw. Came back and did a redesign there. But on the arm there, you can see the exact same sculpt there for the hand. Same thing here. So very interesting parts reuse. Of course, you guys are aware of that with Mattel back in the 80s. Let's see, what else do we have going on with the vintage figure? Of course, the action feature for it, we plan to try and shindig as well. Yeah, it should be cool. I'm hoping that we can shindig and we can do Syrupy Saturday, and we can do all of our normal things, but we can do, you know, the on the road edition, and hopefully we can all jump in together and maybe help each other out and do that kind of stuff together too. So pause for the calls. And away we go. So again, somewhat space-like, or I guess, I don't know. They show it as sort of steampunk is the way they list it. But let's see if I can. The beer's giant size. We do like those giant size beers. We do big up in here. But so with the original Manny Faces, you got these tubes and hoses. Interestingly enough, he came with a new weapon. So he came with his blaster weapon. So as you see right there, you can see the blaster. I don't have a vintage blaster here to show you. I thought I did, but actually didn't. But so he did originally come with the blaster. Now, little fun fact about the blaster. I don't know if you guys know this or not. I found it out while I was researching for the podcast. Little fun fact is that the blaster actually got reused again as the tails for some of Voltron's lines. So some of Voltron's lines had tail blasters, and because of the tail blasters and the parts reuse that folks like to do back then, some of those got repurposed as tail guns for Voltron lines. So that's kind of interesting. He was released, so the original release of Manny Faces, he was released on the standard Starburst card back, you know, our burst card back. I wouldn't say Starburst, that's Rock Burst. I don't know what, Exploding Burst. Yeah, the Exploding Burst. So he was released on the standard Burst card back. With that beautiful Errol McCarthy artwork. So on the back of the card back, you still had, hey, what's up, Taylor Harris? What's going on, Squirrel? You still had that beautiful artwork on the back. I don't know if you guys have seen that one. It's sort of Manny Faces running, got the gun, blasting it. Absolutely beautiful stuff. I really would like to have a collection of all of that artwork. Just sort of, you know, Errol doing all of his things, where we saw a collection of Norm's artwork, or I'd like to see a collection of Alcala's artwork, or, you know, maybe throw all that in together. So Dark Horse, if you're listening, I know we did get an art book for the World of He-Man, but it would be nice to see some collections by certain people. So he was packaged on that burst with the beautiful Errol McCarthy stuff. Now, also, interestingly enough, when he was released on his standard card with his standard release, but there was also a variant that was released at almost the exact same time. So that particular variant is the Manny Weapons variant. So with Manny Weapons, he actually included 5 weapons from Castle Grayskull that were sort of a limited time thing. And on the actual card back, it actually has a little burst, and it says extra weapons included, 5 extra weapons included. So one of those weapons was this. So this is a maroon colored mace that would have come with the Manny Weapons pack. However, this is a classics mace, so don't get it twisted. This particular mace actually was supposed to go with the Manny Faces that we gave away in the past. So, we'll shout out on the podcast. Whoever got the Manny Weapons from me quite some time ago, he rolled out of the house. He was missing his mace there, bro. It rolled off the back of the display case over here and was hidden, and I didn't know until I got to doing and cleaning this carpet here, bro. So, yes, Cullen, we actually do clean the carpet. But, yes, so whoever got that Manny Faces, if you can remember who you are, I have the 5th piece of your Manny Weapons assortment. Found that today, so there you go. Holler at me. I'll send it to you. But now, inside of that pack, you had, of course, Manny Faces. You had his blaster. If it was the variant pack, he had 5 extra weapons. If not, it was just the blaster and Manny. And then he was packaged with the Ordeal of Manny Faces mini comic. So the ordeal of Many Faces was really how I found out about Many Faces. I mean, obviously, you get the figure. You know, it's kind of clear what he does, guys. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. However, being 5 years old, and of course, anytime that I opened these suckers, the first thing you want to do is you want to find out as much about the character as you possibly can. Who is this guy? Where'd he come from? What's he do? Whose team's he on? What's going down? So the mini comic always helped you know that. It told a story that involved the figure and allowed you to learn, you know, somewhat of their backstory or who they might be. Now, with Many Faces, honestly, I think it is probably one of the most interesting mini comics that there are, because for me as a child, it was very hard to wrap my head around how Many Faces was created. But, I mean, in truth, it really wasn't that hard to wrap my head around it. It was just traumatic. So, I don't know for you guys, but when I read the story, and originally read the story, and we got to the scene where Many Faces is truly created, gosh, that was just such an interesting thing to me as a kid, because I could see the struggle, and I could see, you know, I want to be good, I want to be bad. Middle. So that is very interesting in the development of Many Faces. I think that, you know, as far as figures go, the creation of Many Faces, not necessarily the concept himself, but the creation of Many Faces was just an amazing backstory of how this figure came to be. So that was a beautiful mini comic done by Mark Texeira. So if you've never seen that one's Mark Texeira, Many Faces, Many Faces Mini, not Many Faces Manny. In your mini comic Bible, if you'll turn over to First Many Faces Ordeal 1 verses chapters 2 and 1 and 3, and Tila's got it going on, you see. So there's the old ordeal of Many Faces. And what we see in the very first panel here, we start off with Many Faces on stage. At the Royal Palace of Eternia, nobility and common folk alike enjoy a festive moment, a performance by the famed actor Many Faces. So Many Faces, if you look closely here, when being confronted by Skeletor, he has multiple faces here in the background. So he's traveling around, he's being an actor. I don't know why sort of the spacesuit or whatever was a part of his gimmick, but Skeletor convinces him to drink a potion. And obviously, anytime the bone-faced one gives you a little something to drink, you might want to think twice, if you know what I mean. So, gave him a little potion to drink. Many Faces drinks the potion, changes him into the monster form. So, we go from original Many Faces, he drinks the potion, and we get monster faces. So, we get Many Monster. So, there, Many Faces has now changed into the monster. However, throughout the mini, what we discover is that Many Faces is actually good. It wants to be good. He doesn't want to serve Skeletor. So he resists. Obviously, somebody with a little bit higher magical power than Skeletor has to step in. The sorcerer steps in. And we get in sort of this tug of war for Many Faces. And so, again, as a child, when I read this, it was easy to understand what was happening, but it wasn't easy to understand what was happening. It left such a solid mark on me as a child, as far as knowing that this struggle went on. So here we have the sorceress, and this is the sorceress. Now, obviously, she looks a bit more like Tila here, so this was in the early days of the sorceress. But the sorceress and Skeletor are having this battle for the monster Many Faces. So here we have the good Many Faces, we have the evil Many Faces, and because the struggle tore back and forth, it literally split his personalities asunder, and we get Man-E-Faces 3, which is the robot face, which is neither good nor evil. So you have good, you have evil, and then the paradigm in between. So there we go. This was the scene that always kind of got me here. You know, this is as his being is being ripped apart. We have stop, pain, must stop. So there is Man-E-Faces being torn between the many different, the two different pieces, and then we have the robot makes it through as well. So interestingly enough, she closes with saying, or He-Man closes with saying, he's become a robot, neither good nor evil. I need instructions. Will someone please give me instructions? So luckily, a final transformation is done by the sorceress, and she is able to change him back into his human form. And we see He-Man and Teela talking, and of course the sorceress expressing at the bottom that it may be only a matter of time before the different pieces of Man-E-Faces collide again. So very interesting stuff there. I do think it's very interesting how they chose to portray that, and especially to portray that to children. I just thought that was really interesting. I mean, I don't know really what the age ranges were supposed to be on this stuff when it was coming out. I just realized now that you guys have been talking to me, and I can just now see your comments because apparently the mouse was not at the bottom of the page. So sorry about that, guys. I probably would have been talking to you by now, but let's see. Shoot, I can't even get down to your comments, guys, to keep y'all going with me. What are you going to do? Part two, Prince Adam's just getting him off to stop. I actually am going to do that part 2, Prince Adam. We do have to finish that. I also have to get a little bit deeper on Skeletor too. Nice, cool, epic inner battle. Yeah, I mean that's the crazy thing that's going on there. Is just it's that inner struggle, it's that inner battle between good and evil, and wanting to be good. Skeletor demanding that you're evil, and then of course the transition in between. I mean, I thought it was absolutely awesome. And has always stuck out in my mind as one of my favorite mini comics. So there's that. Now, along the way, like I said when we started, Man-E-Faces honestly has been portrayed probably as consistently as any. You know, there's some folks that are so different throughout the different media and how they're portrayed. But Man-E-Faces, it never really gets much deeper than who he is as far as, you know, the multiple faces. But they just sort of kept adding to and adding to. So in the 82 DC Comics, he could be controlled with both halves of the Power Sword. So that was kind of interesting. With both halves of the Power Sword, you could actually control Man-E-Faces. In 83 Filmation, this is where we would see the Man-E-Faces that most folks came to know. So a bit of an outcast. Man-E-Faces is a bully. He is bullying the widgets, and that's where we very first see him as bullying the widgets. Skeletor sees him, says, "Oh my goodness, this guy's clearly evil. Need him for my team." He-Man says, "Oh, you know, he's not evil. He can be redeemed." So again, we have the struggle for power going on for Man-E-Faces. Due to his face-changing abilities, Man-E-Faces had some powers that everybody wanted to use. You know, he was good for a couple different things. Again, I said he was a bit of a bully. He terrorized the widgets. He-Man comes to the rescue, saves Man-E-Faces. Man-E-Faces, of course, sees the error of his ways. He is dubbed Man-E-Faces by Orko in that particular episode. So the episode that I'm talking about, we were just on it earlier. Good Lord, Johnson, it's already jumped out of my mind. The Mystery of Man-E-Faces. So for you folks that are Filmation folks, or for maybe you folks who have never seen that particular Filmation episode, the episode starting out with Man-E-Faces is The Mystery of Man-E-Faces. So that introducing him into Filmation. Now, interestingly enough, we do not see Man-E-Faces again in Filmation until 37 episodes later, he actually makes an appearance in Sword of Skeletor. I think it was Sword of Skeletor. And then there is also the He-Man special that was done. And he makes a cameo appearance in the He-Man special. So other than that, Man-E-Face is not really used that much. And truthfully, it's mainly because they don't know what to do with him. There's not a whole lot of use for a guy that can just keep switching his faces around. So different ways to try to tie him into the plot just really weren't working out. So I would imagine also he's probably hell on animation as far as sales go, because you do at least have 3 different faces that he can be drawn with at any time. So interestingly enough there, he didn't get to see a lot of playing time. 83 golden books assigned powers to each of his personas. So we had the monster face, we had the robot face, and human face, but each one of those got specific powers that were useful in certain ways. I mean, in certain cases, they were used in different ways. As a human, Man-E-Face was a very skilled warrior. As a robot, he gained intellect, so anytime he had the robot face, he got smarter. And then as a monster, he had super strength and he could withstand mighty blows. So as a monster, much tougher hide, tougher skin. So interesting stuff there for the 83 golden books. Now 84, we got the UK World Annuals. So United Kingdom World Annuals. Pause with cause. I don't know, guys. I'm not able to keep up with your comments the way that they should have been. They're not rolling down the page like they normally would. Only characters on that show more annoying than Orko. You have got to be talking about the widgets, Rodman. They have Bully Me stickers on their back. You know they do, man. So, Mr. Naito, I appreciate that. Naito. Edward, I appreciate you bringing that up, because we'll talk about it again when I get over to talking about the classics version of him. He did actually have an Orko face. So there was an Orko face, there's a Beastman face, there's a Skeletor face, and classics, of course, can do nothing but give nods to the past. So talk about that again here in just a second. In the 84 UK World Motu Annals, he got a new backstory. And this one I thought was interesting. He was cursed by Skeletor. Each personality was distinct. As a human, he was very kind. He's very destructive as a monster. As a robot, he could be controlled by the first person who told him what to do. So if you got him into robot mode, you could pretty much get anything done that you needed done by old Man-E-Faces. Skeletor uses the Power Sword in order to bring about his change. So interestingly enough, it's not controlled by Man-E-Faces. It's actually controlled by a blast from the Power Sword, and Skeletor is able to cause him to change. Now, 84 German audio plays. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 84 German audio plays, but man, if we could get those in English or get those actually translated, or best that I understand, they're in German. So, but what I would really love to get some of this stuff in English and have them acted out, the way that they were in the German audio plays, because those particular audio series had a very dark take on a lot of things. So if you go back and you listen to some of the previous podcasts and we talk about the German audio plays, that is always where you hear like your darkest, strangest take on things. So obviously that's where Anti-Eternia He-Man came from, by the power of Hellskull, and we will talk about Anti-Eternia He-Man at some point. But those German audio plays, I mean, they're just very interesting in how they were done, and sort of the play and the spin. Not a lot of concern, I guess, for kids, or the worry that kids would find some of this troubling. But the 84 German audio plays would find a very different Man-E-Faces. And this was probably the most interesting thing that I think I found throughout this process of looking up stuff to talk to you all about on Man-E-Faces. In this particular case, he has a daughter. So Man-E-Faces has a daughter. Doesn't specifically tell where she came from, just simply the fact that Man-E-Faces has a daughter. And that he was abducted by a Cotanian, K-O-T-A-N-I-A-N, a Cotanian scientist who was conducting experiments on Man-E-Faces. So after being captured by the scientist is actually creating Man-E-Faces to be the ultimate battle machine. And he had it in his mind that he was going to create him as being the ultimate battle machine. What ended up happening, he was merged with an alien and a robot. So we had the human, the robot, but we also had an alien instead of a beast. So he was molded, or a monster, I guess you would say. He was merged with an alien and robot. He escaped through a time field. So here we have the introduction of time travel. It's always present in Motu. It always lends itself to the multiverse, whether you like it or don't. It is a huge prominent factor in most all of the storytelling in Masters as far as the time aspect. Escapes through a time field, and although his daughter did not, so it was assumed that the daughter died in time, and Man-E-Faces made it on through. For some reason, in this particular instance, after he makes it through the time portal and the daughter is lost, Man-E-Faces begins blaming Skeletor. So I don't know what the exact direct tie in there and why Man-E-Faces is actually blaming Skeletor there, but could it be that there was another backstory for Skeletor where he may have been a Cotanian scientist who was conducting experiments on Man-E-Faces? So, I don't know, something you learned from your mentor maybe? Hordak, who is known for using Horde technology and Horde science to create all kinds of monstrosities. We do see that in other places throughout the canon. We see places where that's prominent. But it was just interesting to me that they were quick to point out the fact that Man-E-Faces blamed it on Skeletor, although the Cotanian scientist is the one who got all this mess started. While meeting with He-Man in the Mystic Mountains, they become friends. He-Man is the only person to know about Man-E-Faces' past, and he's the only person to know his true face. So, interestingly enough, they would sort of lend it, or that would lend itself to the fact that there are multiple faces for Man-E-Faces, and He-Man is the only one who has actually seen or knows the true face that exists for Man-E-Faces. They did go into the past. So, interestingly, again, we have time travel. He-Man travels with Man-E-Faces to the past, and they rescue Man-E-Faces' daughter. One thing that I thought was interesting with that, as the robot, he can analyze architecture, and the monster can detect things in the realm of magic and spirits. So again, with those German audiobooks, very much darker take on everything. So we had the realm of magic and spirits that the monster was able to detect things in. And then, of course, analyzing architecture may have saw a nod in the MYP version. We'll talk about that again here in just a second. Let me roll the comments down, see if I can catch up with you guys. Yep. Let's see. You'll be there, Eric. We'll be on our way Friday morning. Awesome. Ruth, I really cannot wait to hang out with you guys. Since they're called German audio plays because they're in German. Thank you, Rudd. That is one of the greatest Paul Rudman comments I've ever read. Now, Paul, what about German cars? Are they made in Germany? Come on, man. You know it's a style. Let's see. Sounds like something Hordak would do. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't blame the widgets as well. Everybody blames the widgets. Hashtag blame the widgets. So, 86 UK comics would actually see him as a hermit, living off by himself to more or less protect everybody from him. So Man-E-Face is sort of secluding himself because he didn't want to terrorize or upset or be in the way of anybody else. He did have a companion. He had a Metadroid. So I thought that was interesting that they do mention the fact that he had this Metadroid and that he stayed in radio contact with the Masters at all times. So it actually does not say he stayed in radio contact with the Masters. It says he stayed in radio contact with the Heroic Warriors. So a lot of debate on Masters, Heroic Warriors, however that works for you. I don't want to step on no toes. I think it would be interesting with that particular Metadroid. I know that Super 7 is giving us another Man-E-Faces, and I know that that is already in the works. And I'm sure that, you know, as far as figures go, he's going to get the Filmation treatment somewhat because he is a part of that Club Grayskull line. So he will definitely get the Filmation touch, and we've seen him. We've seen what he looks like. It is a very I don't know what I would use to describe those figures. I want to say dumbed down, but that's not necessarily it because they're not necessarily dumbed down. It's just that Filmation style just more lends itself to a more simplistic design. Like, for example, you see with, you know, the bracers and things, the leg bracers on Man-at-Arms. It's a much more simplistic style, the Filmation style. So Man-E-Face is there, sort of smoothed out, looks a little bit different. Now, he is pretty glorious, so I can't say that I'm not excited for that. But they threw in some interesting weapons and things with that. It would have been cool to see a Metadroid packed in with him or something to that effect. Or maybe he came with a packed in little daughter or like a little time portal or some crazy stuff like that. But with that said, you know, Super 7 said basically in order to redo a figure, in order for us to get a figure again, they've got to be able to do that figure to where it will bring something new to the line or bring something new and creative. So I think they accomplished that with the Man-E-Faces. He is very different than the Classics Man-E-Faces that we got, but both of which very different from the 2002 Mike Young Productions Man-E-Faces. So in 2002, we would see a rebirth of Man-E-Faces pretty early in the series. It was sort of more or less told that Man-E-Faces is just always around. He's one of the Heroic Warriors. The episode, if you guys have never seen it, it's called The Monster Within. Definitely want to check that episode out. Very, very awesome episode. Of course, anything MYP 2000 or 2002 He-Man. Oh my Lord, if you've not watched that series, please do yourself a favor. Get on there and watch that. They're all available on YouTube. They are out there if you want to watch the full episodes. But the Monster Within, is that what it is? Is that what I just said it was called? Yes, the Evil Within? The Monster Within? No. I've already lost it, guys. But y'all know what it be. It's a 2002 Man-E-Faces, you see. But would see the rebirth of Man-E-Faces. We have Man-E-Faces. We have Manny-Robot and Manny-Monster. He is referred to those names in the series. So, you know, He-Man will say, you know, perhaps Manny-Monster could do this, whereas perhaps we need Manny-Robot to take care of this. Manny-Robot's a very good chess player. And an interesting little fun fact, Roboto was actually created to be a playing chess partner for Manny-Robot. So Manny-Robot needed someone who could challenge him intellectually and be able to play a game of chess with him, and turns out Roboto was created for that particular case. When he was the monster, he had an enhanced sense of smell. As a robot, he could scan environments and use his robot database. So that may be a little nod back to that 1984 where he was able to actually scan things and be able to scan architecture and tell you things about buildings. So I thought that was very interesting. His weapon does have the ability to transform from a mace into the blaster. He actually has a mace when he's the human, when he is the monster. But when he changes over to the robot, he can change his mace into a blaster. So interesting little throw in there for 2002. Those Mike Young productions, they made him just a touch different. Now, what we will see, though, in that particular episode is you will see Beastman controlling him yet again. Now, this is a nod to the Filmation episode. So in the Filmation episode, what we see is Beastman controlling Man-E-Faces, and because of the monster side, Beastman's able to control him. Well, we see, I mean, it is almost an exact nod to it, guys. It's beautiful that they did it this way. However, they wrapped it up beautifully within another story, which is where we see the first instances of Tuvar and Badra. Now, what I thought was super interesting is throughout this particular episode, they're making it clear to you that Tuvar and Badra are the two folks who can take down He-Man. They're strong enough, they're capable enough, they're slick enough. They can get the job done that nobody else has been able to do. However, in this particular episode, there is a scene where Tuvar and Badra straight up get their ass kicked, and they get it kicked by Man-E-Faces. So Man-E-Faces in monster mode is a bit of a problem to deal with. Now, on towards the end of the episode, we believe the monster is in control. He's controlling the monster. He pulls a trick, and he says, perhaps it was all an act, or perhaps, it's just great acting. So we get the tie-in with the acting. Of course, Man-E-Faces is always the consummate actor. The suit helped and aided in his changes. So interestingly enough, in 2002, the suit actually allowed and helped him in his changes. And when all of the technology was disabled, we do see a scene where he is stuck in between transformations and can't quite make it through. Classics would go back and expand on it again. So here it is. We get this absolutely beautiful figure from Classics. I mean, absolutely stunning. He is one of my favorite figures of the line. This guy's terribly hard to get a hold of most of the time at a reasonable price. He's very expensive. And as you guys have seen, we all know what the secondary market's doing right now. So it'll be nice to get down to Comic-Con and see if there's some good deals going around, and see some folks that are not trying to scalp the hell out of us. Now, with this particular figure that we got, God, is he not glorious? I mean, just absolutely beautiful sculpt by the Four Horsemen. And I don't know if you guys remember the movie Beastmaster, but, oh, man, those death, what were those things called? Death guards. These look like he looks like Mayak's death guards. Death guards had like this metal thing over their head, glowing eyes, but everything from the neck down pretty much looked like these death guards. So, did that inspire the style for Man-E-Faces? Don Coscarelli did that movie in '82. I think it was penned in '79, though, to tell you the truth. But interestingly enough, we see a lot of things that lend itself over to Masters. So, you had your the winged devourers, which were the bird people who somewhat resemble Stratos and his bird people. Their bird token of Zoar. You've got Man-E-Faces looks a lot like these death guards. He-Man and his obvious, he and Beastmaster are looking quite a bit alike. He travels with a tiger. He travels with a tiger. I mean, come on, man. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. We're not here to talk about Beastmaster or do my silly little rhymes. I have a little pause for the cause. A little LITE. And Classics would go on to show us his Man-E-Faces, you see. So, packed in with good old Man-E-Faces, you simply remove that. So you take your little peg out, remove his helmet, remove the head drum. So you got this little headpiece. Come on now, it gets a little stuck on there sometimes. And what the Horsemen did that was absolutely amazing is they packed in another headset. So you've got He-Man, you've got Skeletor, and then you've also got Orko from his appearance in the Filmation series. So I thought that was very cool. There are scenes where Manny Faces is mocking Skeletor with the Skeletor face. He's mocking Beastman with the Beastman face. He actually does use the Beastman face at one point in time to befriend some of the evil warriors. So very cool. You can very easily switch the heads out. Works the same way. You have your drum where you can turn it. This is almost a Perkato face, but He-Man, Orko, and Skelly. So a very nice little add in there by the Horseman. Very cool. Classics, again, would tell the story of Perkato, the Master of Disguise, who was performing for Adam for his 18th birthday. Anytime a bone-faced stranger gives you a drink, I don't care if they're Eternian loggers, and I don't care if they're free. You've got to turn it down, B, okay? So never drink the potion from the bone-faced guy. Also, if a guy comes in purplish robes into your royal palace and you guys are having to get together. In fact, if we're at WaffleCon and somebody rolls up, kind of skeletal looking, bit of a disguise, purple robes, amulet, don't put the amulet on. Just remember that. Okay. So drinks the potion. Again, changes into the monster. The only other interesting thing that I thought was kind of interesting in the BIOS, when the Etherean rebels came as part of the Great Rebellion, he fell in love with Peekaboo. And he and Peekaboo actually do remain together even after the second Ultimate Battleground. So I just thought it was very interesting that they put those two folks together and they're together, and that's what it is. So other than that, he was designed originally, concept and designed by Mark Taylor. Now, we talked about at the beginning of the show, mascara. What is mascara? We got Manny Faces. What is mascara? So mascara was an early concept. It indicated that there would be multiple masks that Manny Faces would wear. Of course, he didn't have the working name Manny Faces. He was Maska, M-A-S-K-A, -R-A, mascara, or mascara. It would indicate multi-mask feature. Had a bit more of a robotic design as far as the body goes. However, it really wasn't all that close to what we ended up getting as far as the vintage toy. Now, what I did find interesting, though, in the concept art was there was an unpublished multi-face, and multi-face concept was remarked up and redone by by Axel Jimenez. So Axel did sort of a mock-up of that and what that may look like as multi-face. But again, we still didn't have the actual design that we got later on. But what we did get that Mark's wife, Rebecca, shared with us just not too long ago, actually, was a design where it sort of married a couple of the other parts. So you had mascara's multiple masks, but you also had the more human body. But the body itself, when you look at this concept art, and this is over on Battle Ram blog if you guys want to check it out, or if somebody can post a picture of it after the podcast is over, that concept art for Manny Faces there actually, or I think it was listed as multi-face maybe, looks a bit more like Flip Shot from New Adventures. And if you look at the design of the body, the blue, the silver, I mean, it may very well be where the Flip Shot figure actually came from. And if you look closely up on the chest of that particular design, what we do see is we see the design for the chest piece for Terror Claw's Skeletor. So Manny Faces, although very consistent in who he has been throughout the canon, his concept couldn't be any more different, and is very it's not really tied down into this gave us this and that gave us that. But what we can draw from it is there were quite a few different style designs that were taken from Manny Faces, and he very well could be the daddy to a couple of other concepts and figures. So with that said, we'll see you tomorrow night for some extra head. And we'll do Thirsty Thursday. We'll get that thing in. And I appreciate you guys coming and hanging with me again. It's been the Waffle Mafia podcast. Big shout out to the sister podcast Fans of Power, Masters of the Galaxy. Want to give a shout out to Dirt, the producer. Dirt, appreciate you. PopCultureNetwork.com. Appreciate you guys hanging with me. eBay.com. If you don't know, ask your mom. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for making it do what it do and hanging out with me and me hanging out with you. So I appreciate all y'all. I love y'all. Won't be long and we're going to get our WaffleCon on. So I hope to see some of you guys this weekend. I hope to see everybody for tomorrow night because we're going to thirsty it up and we're going to do it, all right? So we're going to do a Manny Faces. We're going to get it in. I got a few awesome other stuff to get on a spin. I don't know if you guys have been looking up here, but there's some different stuff back here, guys. And I'm out of here. Gone right before your eyes. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. We'll talk to you later. Peace.